Hello, and welcome to Split the Vote. I'm super excited to introduce a new podcast, the Purple Pants Podcast, has rolling out. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you're like, Bryce, what is going on? I am super excited as the years come. The Purple Pants Podcast has been here for a very long time. And one of the things that I said I wanted to do with the Purple Pants Podcast was use my platform to elevate other people. And so that is what we are doing with Split the Vote. Split the Vote is a Survivor podcast that will be on the Purple Pants podcast and the Bryce Isaiah YouTube channel. The thing that I love the most about Survivor is that it's a community. I met my best friend, Wendeezy, from Survivor. And I also played Survivor Philadelphia, which is not an ORG or OR, a Survivor org, but IRL in real life. And, from Alex G, I met a lot of amazing people. And since I played Survivor Philadelphia, I have always gone back to watch while they're filming because it's so much fun. And during the last season, I got to meet Mr. Timmy Bridgman, who is absolutely amazing and has been on the podcast while we were covering Survivor Philadelphia and has helped behind the scenes. And Timmy has met a friend named Rob playing a Survivor ORG IRL, a college edition, and they become friends and they have a podcast. And so we are bringing Split the Vote with Timmy and Rob to the Purple Pants podcast. So I wanted to introduce it on its first episode. So make sure you guys take a listen, subscribe to the Purple Pants podcast, subscribe to the Bryce Isaiah YouTube channel where you can watch Split the Vote, or you can listen to Split the Vote anywhere you find podcasts under the Purple Pants podcast. Now, listen, it's enough of me talking. It's time to split the vote.
All right, so welcome to the inaugural, very first episode of Split the Vote. I'm Tim. This is Rob. We are your Survivor Superfans here to bring you a very special Superfan Survivor podcast series. I first want to just give a huge shout out to Bryce and the Purple Pants podcast just for having us on. It's going to be a great season. I'm excited for it. I'm hyped. I'm energized, and I'm feeling amazing. How are you, Rob?
Tim, I'm doing great. Honestly, huge, like you said, huge shout out to Bryce and the Purple Pants podcast. Without them, we wouldn't really have this opportunity and the platform to just be able to talk about the show that we love. And there's no other person I'd rather be doing this podcast with you. Wait, did that make sense? I don't even know if that made sense. I just want to be able to talk about Survivor with you, Tim.
I got you. I was gonna say, listen, it's episode 1, and you already want to kick me off. It's crazy. I'm kidding. But yeah, so let's just hop right into everything, how this will work. If you're just listening, we do have some visuals. If you want to come check us out on the YouTube, that would be great as well. So let's see what happened last time, Rob.
Previously on Survivor.
So previously on Survivors, episode 1 is the premiere, so there's not much to recap that happened before Survivor, but there's something I wanted to share. So I got the chance to go up to New York earlier this week to watch the premiere with my bro, Rob. We were at the BWP that day. I might have seen some of the posse around there, meeting people and having a great time, and absolutely loved the premiere and everything that it was about.
I definitely loved being able to watch Survivor, the episode with the whole community, because the people that go to these events, that's like the most dedicated group of Survivor fans. And being able to experience a premiere with them and you, Tim, along with everyone else, part of Bryce and Wen. It's always a great time. I think one of my favorite memories or just experiences when we were walking in, we walked in like behind Bryce and all the other stars that were showing up to the premiere, and walking ahead of me is you, and there's the person with the camera like taking all the pics of everyone walking in, and they're taking pics of Tim as he's walking in because Tim's a star, guys. Whether you guys realize it or not, Tim's a star.
Nah, well, I appreciate it. Well, listen. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, I just want to hop right into the episode. I also got a chance to see the episode a little early, the premiere. I got the chance to go up to New York for the early screening and watch it with Jeff Probst himself and so many other fans as well. That was an incredible experience. You can go find out more about that. I'd speak more on my Instagram there, but it was just incredible overall. And one specific moment that I feel I'll remember forever is when the screening ended. There was a Q&A. I'm sitting on the log because I'm like, I'm going to sit here on the log whenever I'm at Final Tribal Council. It'll be good practice. Q&A ends. There's a millisecond of time where questions could be asked from the audience. And I just shot my hand up, went for it, and got to ask Jeff the only audience question of that entire night. So being able to watch it again with the whole BWP family just added on top of the amazingness that was like already moving forward. Speaking of amazingness, Rob, let's waste no time and let's get ready to talk about this episode. I think it's time to split the vote.
Split the vote.
All right. So, Rob, could you tell me just a little bit about what you're thinking for this episode? What's this big question that's being posed around the game of Survivor and just the camp in general?
Whenever we see the players jump out of the boat and they're starting to talk to Jeff, I wanted this is the first chance that we get to see as viewers of how are these players gonna talk around each other? How are they going to approach the game? And I thought Jeff dove right into that when he's standing on the beach and he asks the players this question.
Big decision. Philosophically, am I going to commit and attack this game, or am I going to hesitate and risk getting left behind?
Yeah, that's a super interesting question because it brings me to some discussions we've had in the past about the game of Survivor where it's all about pacing. I think there's players who have more of a faster paced approach, and we've seen people win with the fast paced approach. Think Tony. We've seen players who play a little slower and still get to the end and win. Think Michelle and her social game. So there's this tale of the tortoise and the hare, and in each scenario, we see people win with either role. It's so interesting to see that same dynamic be set up for this season with Stephanie and Say, where it seems like Say is going to be a hare, but will she be the hare that's going to be this fabled winner of this season? Is she going to break this traditional curse of play hard, go home, play fast, get voted out fast? I'm not sure, but it does beg the question of what do we think of the different approaches to the game of Survivor?
Survivor is a marathon, and the players just took their first step in that long 26-mile game. And right out of the gate, like you said, it's all about pace. And Say is pushing the pace right now, playing very aggressively, just trying to cultivate that voting block, which is a very strong move because in this game of, well, I guess let me ask you, Tim, like with new era Survivor, like, do you think it's okay to play like a slow pace game, or do you think you have to come out of the gate playing hard and aggressive?
I think it's a good question. I feel like it's a mix. If we're thinking of it in a tale of the tortoise and the hare, in new era Survivor, you have to be a deer. You have to be able to take your time, go slow, eat the grass, get to know the people, play the get to know you game, and say it. And there's other times where you have to play a little faster from what I'm seeing from watching the show. Think of Kenzie making big moves at different moments. Think of D choosing to withhold information at different times or let other people get the shine. It seems like it's becoming this big mix of the speed at which you play. So for me, I'm thinking I have to be able to adapt and hit the ground hard, slow down a little bit. Hit the gas and know where the brake at. And if there's a third pedal there, it's a clutch, and I don't know how to use a clutch. So we'll just have to cross that road when we get there.
I think for me, I guess I kind of view it as like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, where it's like you don't want to play like not too fast, not too slow, like just right. And you can't be the most polarizing player playing like that kind of game within your tribe. The player
Mhm.
who is too fast is going to be painted as too aggressive, and the player that is too slow is going to be like, well, what are they thinking in this moment? And you really want to navigate that middle. Not necessarily the vote in the middle, but within the speed and pace that you're playing within that tribe. I think that's how you build a really solid foundation where you open yourself up with just more options going into the first challenge and the first immunity, like the first vote at tribal council too, if you don't win the first challenge.
That's true. That's true. I'm also thinking about a couple players who have been cooking so far, to say the least, who have, I don't know, Chef Gordon Ramsay helped them prepare their porridge, but it seems like it's on a great start. One of those players who I think has a great foundation so far is actually Thomas. I think Thomas is in a great spot on his tribe. He has Bianca, he has the California Girls, which I just thought was like a super funny name. Like everybody's from California, nobody's a girl, but they're the California Girls. So he's like one player who I think is doing a really great job at like cementing himself in his tribe. And I'm sure there's other people too. Like, anybody come to mind for you?
I know one player for me was definitely Kevin in his tribe, like, coming back from that excursion, and he finds himself in the middle of that vote, and he has his ally in Mary on one side, and then he's got this little group of Say and the two other boys coming up to him being like, hey, we want you part of this 4-person alliance. And that's a great place to be, living in the middle.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely a great place to be, except for when that being out of place or being in the place of the middle is your shoulder. I heard that it was actually a lot worse than what it seemed to be, like his shoulder injury. They actually had to pop it back in place. I've never dislocated anything. The worst injuries I can think of is when I was a kid playing football outside. I jammed my right finger, and pretty much it was swole to the point where I had to get a cast. So I was stuck, had a middle finger cast, and I was just pointing around the entire time. So I can't imagine what it's like to have your shoulder out of place, but to have you recover not just from that injury, but to find yourself in a place where you're in the middle of your tribe, I think is pretty solid and great to point out too.
Yeah, thank God for Kevin that injury wasn't serious enough. And the fact that his tribe picked him to then go and compete for the tribe supplies immediately after that, after experiencing an injury, beyond totally shocked me to my core. Because if I would think you want to put maybe the best physically like fit person in that moment, and when you have Kevin who just hurt themselves, doesn't seem like the best decision, but we definitely got a great Survivor moment out of that journey.
I agree. I feel like one more player who I think is in a good spot so far, who I think people were sleeping on, is Cedric. But doctor himself, to quote himself, Cedric, the doctor, the surgeon, he doesn't have idol. He doesn't have any advantages so far, but he knows where they're at. He knows where, say, has this idol. And he, in fact, was one of the people who Say came up to about trying to crack this code to get this idol or advantage because they didn't know what it was beforehand. So him being what seems like a central beacon on this whole tribe is something that I think stands out to me.
I think what also stood out to me was Camilla on the Siva tribe, how she was able to recognize her strength and identify her weaknesses too, and try to build an alliance with that in mind. She knew that she's going to have to play that aggressive social game and not come off too strong. And I think what she was able to do in the first episode can definitely set her up farther heading into the next round.
Absolutely. I feel like Camilla is one of my winner picks. She's a gamer. Like, that's a queen. She's a legend. And I feel like to be a gamer and for her to actually go semi-pro on an esports team, we learn from preseason stuff, you have to have some kind of communication skills because people be yelling, Rob. Like, I was playing my game one day last week, like a Friday night. I'm just playing my game because I'm gonna enjoy myself. And there's this alarm going off in somebody's background where we can't focus. We don't know what's going on. And I'm thinking, like, what is happening? So me and my friends, we take a quick break. I hop back on the game. I'm going to warm up some food, put some rice on the stove. I go use the bathroom. We come back. We start playing the game. It's competitive. I'm a healer. So it's my job to make sure the team is staying alive. And this alarm keeps going off. It keeps going off. I'm like, yo, whose mic is this? Like, who needs to change their batteries in the alarm? Come to find out, it was me, Rob. I left the rice on the stove and I almost burnt it. So
No.
if you're ever in a situation like that and you know how to keep playing the game, and Camilla being a gamer that's been in these social stressful situations, I feel like she'll definitely do good in the game of Survivor. So that's why she's like one of my winner picks.
All I know is that, like, if you're out on the island, Tim, they cannot let you cook that rice. No, you'd be the farthest one from the campfire because I don't want you burning my rice, bro.
Well, I won't burn the rice. I promise I won't. I'm gonna try to like find some island seasonings out there. You know, like maybe put a little, I don't know, a little coconut in there. Add some flavor to it. I'm Chef Tim in the island kitchen at that point. So we'll just have to cross that road if I get there.
Yeah, if you're gonna be playing the game way too hard around camp, I'm gonna start putting you to a test. I'm gonna make you cook the rice, and if you let it burn, that's how I know you're playing the game way too hard that round. That's a little psychological test I guess I'd do on you while we're playing.
Okay. Speaking of cooking, I think it's a good time to talk about Steak Gate, specifically this conversation that was happening on one of the tribes.
I like my steak typically cooked to rare to medium rare.
I'm a medium well girl.
Charity. Freaking Charity likes her steak medium well done. That's a sign of a psychopath right there.
Personally, I like my steak medium well. Call me a psychopath, admit me to the hospital, find a straitjacket. I'm not eating pink food, Rob. I'm not eating pink meat. Like, I'm not a wild animal. I'm not going to eat steak straight off the cow, straight from the like butcher. I want my food cooked. I don't know how you like your steak.
Tim, I think I need you to come back up to New York so I can go admit you into my hospital because medium well, that is 100% the sign of a psychopath. No lies detected by Kyle. I personally like my steak medium rare. Now, I will say when I'm out at a restaurant, sometimes it's a little too rare and I'd rather it not be that chewy. So I will order it medium depending on the place. But if I'm getting like a fine steak, I want that steak medium rare.
Quick question, Rob. How many letters in rare?
4? Is this a trick question?
How many letters in sick?
Oh my God.
4. Okay, so a rare equals sick. It's same letters is right there in the front of your face. So if you think it's too rare, maybe it's not cooked enough. Maybe let's just put that together and make that into a puzzle we can solve on a challenge one day.
I feel like maybe medium well done probably has as many letters as psychopath, though. I don't know. I'm not the quickest math person, but you tell me, man.
Listen, I'll write it down. I'll give you an answer after the episode. At least I'm not a super well done person, like who be shaking the table. Like you try to cut into your steak, you cut into a tire. You might as well like put that steak in my trunk to use as like a backup in case one of my tires blow out on my way up to New York next time. So at least I'm not that's a sociopath right there. That's like you might as well go find Joker and have your steak prepared by him than like somebody who's well done. But I digress. There's one moment I feel that I really especially loved this episode, and that's when Kyle decided to help Kevin. So right after Kyle broke his challenge to get the supplies for his tribe, he just goes up to Kevin and starts helping Kevin. I've seen this episode a couple times now, and I got a chance to see it twice with the audience of Survivor fans, one at BWP, one at the early screening. And every time we saw that scene, the whole crowd just erupted in applause. I also erupted in applause. Like, I was moved, and I felt like it was one of those things that continue to make people be Survivor fans and continue to be reminded, to quote Jeff from the question that I asked him, his answer, that human beings are awesome. Like, I feel like he has mad respect for me, Kyle, as a player in the game and for that move as a person. So moments like that, therefore, are why Survivor continues to be Survivor.
I've been an athlete my whole life, playing baseball, wrestling, basketball, and one of the core values that I was taught by my coaches was sportsmanship. And I won the varsity sportsmanship award for wrestling and baseball during my time. And that's what I saw. Like, Survivor is a game and it's a competition. And when I saw Kyle lose that challenge and go over to Kevin and still help him at the end, like, the competitor in me really admired that moment, and it really touched me to another level.
Yeah, I only played football for like 2 weeks in high school, so I'm I relate in this spirit, but I do understand sportsmanship for sure. Is one last thing I want to get to as we get ready to go and steal the bacon for folks again who are just listening to the audio. There's some amazing, wonderful visuals that we'll get to soon. There's this question of, do you share your advantage with your tribe, or do you just try to solve it yourself? Last season we saw Rome, or yeah, last season we saw Rome go and do this whole scavenger hunt, put half of his body into a well as he was trying to figure out this thing by himself, and kind of looked a little weird to his tribe. But this time around, we see Say and we see the Orange tribe go and look for the clues and try to solve this puzzle out for the advantage together. Do you think it's better to take the tribe with you or try to do it by yourself when it comes to advantages in the game?
I think how you decide, like how you make that decision, what you do, what your behavior looks like, it really, to me, demonstrates what kind of player are you going to be in this game. And I thought it was very fitting how Say found the advantage with Justin right by her side and told her alliance. It just demonstrates to me that she wants to keep these people close, and I'm going to exclude these other people from the game. And that line is drawn in the sand from that decision. And I think contrasting that with David, where he was the one that first noticed the symbols and voiced it to the tribe, being, hey, like, this kind of looks out of place, or what's this going on right there? I think that it shows a little bit more humility in some kind of way, where like less devious. And I think people could look at that as, okay, well, this player isn't going to be that aggressive or keep these secrets from me because I'm not seeing it in this moment. So I think you're kind of able to pull the cover over someone's head later in the game by making that kind of a decision earlier in the game. Not that to say Say's decision to just tell her alliance is a bad decision, because you lock down that 4 and you only need 4 votes out of 6 to make it through the first couple rounds of the votes at tribal council. So both decisions are very valid decisions, but I think I would probably go around the approach of, let me just tell these people around me, or maybe I got some other tricks up my sleeve too, depending on the situation. How would you go about it?
It's tough. I feel like I would tell one person only, call me Eva, because I'm going to find my Joe and we're just going to be locked in with the game, with this advantage. And it's going to be the two of us until the end. Like, I love older music. Bill Withers, actually not Bill Withers, that one singer who sings just the two of us. That's me and my ally, and my advantage. So technically it's 3 of us, but just us at that point. Speaking of just us, there's just time for a challenge. You up for it, Rob?
Oh, I'm always down for a challenge.
All right, it's time to steal the bacon. All right, so for this first ever inaugural Steal the Bacon challenge, we have this game we came up with, Rob, that's called Idol a la Blindside. Let's take a look. Shout out to Amanda for creating that graphic. So if you've ever heard of this childhood game of Kiss, Marry, Kill, where you have to select different people for a different thing. This is a Survivor version, Rob. You have somebody you're gonna idol who maybe you don't want to align with them long term. You just want to use your idol on them, keep them safe for a round or so. Maybe you want to keep them in the game as a threat. Maybe you want to keep them in the game to work with them in the future. Next, we got allies, somebody who you want to ally with through the whole game. Think your road dog. Think Charlie and Maria before Final Tribal Council. Think Malcolm and Denise. Think of these duos / trios in the game of Survivor. And lastly, blindside. We love a good blindside. Always love a good blindside. This is somebody you want out of the game, somebody that you're just going to take out when they least expect it, just so you can go to the end and win. So those are the 3 categories in this first ever session of Idol a la Blindside. We have 3 goats in front of us, 3 legends, not goats in the game of Survivor, but 3 legends: Charlie, Q, and none other than Andy. I'll let you go first, Rob.
Oh man. All right. I guess what I'm thinking in my head is, who are these players? How do they approach the game? How do they interact with the other players? And do I think that I'd be able to garner a relationship with them? Can I maneuver around the game with them as an ally? Or would I have some difficulty just moving forward in the game as an adversary too? So I think I will probably start with ally. And the player who I think I would... No, not think. There's no doubt that I'm picking Charlie as my ally. I have loved the way that he's approached Survivor. I think he has a very sound, strategic, social game. There's no one I want as an ally than Charlie. Then these are 2 scary players in my mind, Andy and Q. I mean, you have Andy on one hand, who was able to pull off Operation Italy, and you have no idea what's going to come out of Q's mouth and his gameplay at any point, at any round. There's no controlling Q. And I think it would be a very big mistake to not blindside Q. So I think I'm going to be blindsiding Q. And I'm hoping I can play an idol on Andy and do our own Operation Italy move together in unison.
Wow. This is a list. This is a list, Rob. I have to go ahead and just hop right into my own. I feel like the placements that you had makes complete sense for how you might want to play the game with the players, like, and just like what we know of them and how they play the game. For me, I'm gonna shake it up. I'm gonna do something a little different, and it's gonna be a little controversial, but I'm switching these 2 around for me. For me, I'm thinking about, if I'm gonna be on Survivor, I'm gonna want to win, but I'm gonna want to have fun while winning too. The person who I think is gonna be fun and help me win is Q. You have no idea what's gonna be next with Q, and I'm in for a wild ride. Strap me in, put me on the roller coaster, not at the front row, but maybe in the middle where I'm a little bit more safer, and I'll just see where it takes me from there. I think Andy is a great person to play an idol on. We can work together a couple rounds. Maybe you might be a threat later down the road, so I'm not sure if I want to keep you locked in the entire game. Charlie, unfortunately, I have to blindside him. I have to. That's my GOAT. That's my anime watching legend, the GOJO of it all. But he got to go so I can win the game. So that's my tier list. That's how I'm approaching Idol Ally Blindside for this first time around. Get your tuxedo ready because it's time for the Torchies. The Torchies is an award ceremony where we're going to put on each episode of Split the Vote. And it's not about who played the best game, who made the best move, who we like the most, who we don't like the most. Maybe it's a mix of all of it, but the Torchies is just celebrating our respective picks for that week. And I have to start off strong with my 2 nominations for this award, for my Tim Split the Vote Award, Torchy Award, if you will, has to be between Kyle on one hand for me, and on the second hand has to go to Say. Those are my 2 nominees, but if I had an envelope in front of me, I open it up and it would say Kyle as my winner. I feel like the moment again of Kyle going to get the water and help Kevin out just continued to move me, continued to remind me why I'm a big fan of Survivor, why I want to keep being invested in this show, and why this show will go on for more and more and more. So for me, Kyle gets my Torture Award for this inaugural episode.
Kyle's a fantastic pick. I think he's very deserving of the Torchy Award. For me, the 2 people in mind that I think deserve to be nominated for my Torchy Award are also Say and Eva. And the winner of the Rob Torchy Award is Eva. For me, hearing her story about her diagnosis of autism and how that has greatly affected her life really connected with me on a really deep and personal level. I have a couple cousins who are also on the spectrum, and I work at a psychiatric hospital where I'm with patients every single day who are receiving ABA therapy and suffer from these diagnoses and so many other just debilitating disorders. And watching her being able to fight through that struggle in the game and I don't know. I found myself crying at the Bryson One Presents event, just watching her and Joe connect and her confiding in him. And one moment that really stood out to me was when she was telling him, like, hey, like, I have these episodes, and when this happens, like, I get really freaked out and I get stuck in my head. And the first question Joe asks is, like, what can I do for you in those moments? And that really hit for me, because that's how I interact with the patients every single day when they're having urges of hurting themselves or others. And just seeing that real human moment that I see in the hospital every single day happen on my TV. It's why Eva, for me, just being able to be vulnerable and share her story gets my Torchy Award.
Yeah. And you mentioned an ABA therapist. I dated an ABA therapist, and now I have a therapist. So yeah, I completely agree that Eva is a great pick for this award. Such a strong premiere, in my opinion. Before we get to talking about who might be in trouble and who might be bringing us their torch this next episode, as we move forward, I think it's time to take a quick break and take a word from this great visual and this great sponsor. Who's that survivor?
Several means 7.
All right, we're back, and there's one person in mind who I feel would be, unfortunately, maybe bringing us their torch a little bit sooner than normal. I feel that person is Charity. It's been a whole lot of interesting stuff going on with planes in the past couple months, Rob, and Charity is a flight attendant. I think she might be in danger on her tribe. I don't think her game is going to crash, but I feel that it's not looking good on her runway to be the sole survivor at this point, because it seems like we didn't get to see much from her, and her being out of this Alliance of 4 puts her in danger in my eyes. I'm not sure how she's going to recover from that, if she might actually find an advantage in the game that might help her. We'll see. But if that doesn't happen, I feel like she would be in danger. Like, you in danger, girl. Like, mama, it's a girl behind you. And that girl is Camilla and the 3 other people on her tribe. Unfortunately, potentially. We'll see.
Yeah, she's got to low key be able to read a room a little bit, because after the what kind of steak do you like? What's your favorite movie? What kind of car do you drive conversation? Like, you see Kyle and Camilla totally bond with each other to another level that no one else really saw, at least from what we saw on the island. And when she goes up to Camilla and she's like, yeah, I'm thinking like maybe Kyle, because he might have the advantage. Like, think about maybe who you're talking to and who you've kind of seen connect right in front of your eyes, and that impulsiveness, maybe not impulsiveness, but the decision to feel out Camilla with how her feelings with Kyle just may not have been the best situation and approach in that moment. So definitely agree that she could be another person on the outs. I did think on that tribe that it was interesting that Mitch wasn't included within that 4, and I don't know, Mitch seems like such a fun-loving guy, and I really appreciate his story with his speech impediment. But I really admired hearing about his story too. And I remember from the Amazon with whatever her name is escaping my brain, but that just seeing the evolution of just people with like more disabilities coming into the game and being able to play, I think that is truly an awesome experience to have with Mitch too. But I am a little cautious just because I didn't really see who he was connecting with also on that tribe. But for me, I think another player on another tribe that I think has a big question mark going into the next round is Say. And that
you don't say.
Yeah, you don't say, for real, right? I think it comes from a place of understanding how they're going to approach the second round after taking such a big step forward. And that doesn't mean that they can't rebound or keep the power in their hands, but how is the perception of everyone else in the tribe of them just going to impact that player in Say? And you have players like Justin, Kevin right in the middle. Cedric's a great ally for Say. But what's Mary gonna do? I'm worried for Mary's sake because she was left out of the vote, but is she gonna go into Kevin's ear, try to slip some sweet nothings and try to turn on Say while Say has an idol and the power in the game? Like, I think there's a lot that can go wrong for Say, but you got an idol, so you got a lot of power in the game.
Absolutely. Mary could definitely be a little hurt after that. It could come after Say, maybe. Who knows? They say Mary had a little lamb. Who knows? Maybe might have a little vengeance in her heart to go after Say in this next round, should they lose immunity, which could be possible because it does seem like the tribes are a little bit stacked, not in their favor. But who knows? The puzzle is always the great equalizer most of the time. But we'll see what happens next. Before we go and see what happens next, there's some questions for us, Rob. It's time to talk about the Melivote segment. So season 50 is right around the corner, Rob. We both know that. Shooting this summer, we learned that there's voting that's happening for season 50. Someone, Chris, asked me in my DMs, what was I thinking about the season 50 voting? And specifically, someone asked, what am I voting for? So for me, I chose option A with the blue buff, the orange buff, and the green buff. I'm a green guy. I'm leaning into my green now. So I want another green buff. I saw there's a pink campaign on Twitter, on X, on different social media apps. But I feel like I will forever be a green guy until I die. Didn't mean for that to rhyme, but it rhymes now. So you're even wearing green too, Rob. So that's at least one of the ones I voted for. I'm not sure if you also voted for that color when it came to the colors for the upcoming tribes.
Yeah, I was pretty indecisive with my pick because I was just torn between option A. Same reasons as you. Love the color green. I thought blue and orange had a very nice mix tied in, but I love the purple of option B. And I think I could see myself on the purple tribe, because I think that maybe we can discuss color theory on tribes another day, but I did end up choosing option A just because of the completeness of the 3 colors that it brought to me.
There were some other questions, but I want to get right into the big one. Final Four fire making. Don't jump me, Posse, as y'all hear this, and let us know your thoughts in the comments if you voted for one option over the other, or any other question you had around the idol ally blindside. What would y'all do in those types of situations? But don't jump me when I say that I voted to keep Final Four fire making, only because I feel like we're taking advantage of it. We're taking it for granted. We're missing what it is. It's giving our faves, some of our faves, a chance to stay in the game, a chance to fight for their life. There's other shows where people have to lip sync for their life or do a challenge for their life. There's eliminations. This is the one shot that people have when it's not a tie to save their own game and put their own game in their hand without an advantage. It's literally who could build the fire the fastest. Imagine if there was a scenario where Suri was at the Final Four. They would just vote out Suri. Let Suri make fire. So let 4th place versus 3rd place potentially, or seat at the final tribal council, I should say, make fire. Let them fight. Put them in a ring like 2 robots and let them fight. We'll make it fire. That's how I feel.
Tim, don't get quiet when you're telling everyone that, you want fire making, because I want fire making too. Fire making is one of the best Final Four ideas that I think Jeff's really implemented into the game in a long time. And I think it comes from a place where there's so many decisions that still have to be made at the Final Four vote, and so much can go wrong. I think the Final Four really gives a chance for the jury to see like how the players are perceiving each other and where they're at in the game. What kind of last grasp opportunity with this vote can you do to try to save yourself or put yourself in a better position for the final 3? And so much gets lost inside that game from the viewer's perspective, in my opinion, because it's just like, oh, well, we're going to put the 2 best people up against each other. Or if you win the Final Four challenge, you got to go against the best person. But there's so much more going inside that, because the people who get brought shouldn't just be complacent. They should be able to use their voice in that platform and try to talk the people like out of like the number 1 person who is now sitting pretty going into the final 3, like talk them down, get them scared, get the jury to like root for you. Like that's a chance for you to, there's just so much that I think can happen at the Final Four that the fire making challenge gives you. And that's not even just the aspect of the entertainment of that the fire making challenge brings to you. Look at season 47 with that tight battle between Sam and Teeny, how yes, the wind kind of disrupted the challenge, but both players are working with the same obstacles and the same challenges, and it just created such an entertaining moment, and I want more of those moments.
It's probably cold at night over there. I'm not sure. I've never been to Fiji, and I'm sure their fire is a little warm, so that's another reason to keep Final Four fire making. Let's just not be cold. I don't do the cold. I'm from Mississippi. We know this. So I'm pro fire, and I'm curious to know if y'all are also pro or anti fire as well. But Rob, I feel it's been such an incredible, amazing first episode. I again want to just give a huge shout out to Bryce and the Purple Pants podcast. Shout out to the Posse for listening. Again, definitely check this out. See our beautiful, amazing faces, Short Kings. If you're just listening to the audio, Rob, anything else from this episode you just want to touch on as we get ready to close out?
I think I just want to shout out Stephanie. It's always difficult being the first person voted out, but I really admired her. I know reading her bio, how she worked for Teach for America, and that's an organization that my girlfriend's going to be working with, like in the fall, and just knowing that that's like an underserved population that people don't tend to really want to work with, and seeing that she worked there for like longer than the 2 years of her commitment for 8 years, I mean, that's like a similar population that comes into the psychiatric hospital that I work at. And I know she does a lot of great work. I really thought she had a good strategy of just trying to sit back and get to play the get to know you game. Whether or not, you know, she just didn't make those strategic bonds with everybody else. So it's a little bit of slip up, but I really just wanted to shout out Stephanie for just being who she is.
Absolutely. I'm a teacher myself, so huge shout out to Stephanie for being a teacher. And I just want to again just say shout out to her for getting on the show, getting that chance, that opportunity. They talked a lot about astrology, and I feel she saw her angel numbers before stepping on that beach in Fiji. The stars definitely aligned for her dream. And we got a chance to share that with her. And I hope she has so many different more experiences that she carries with her from beyond the game as well. But Rob, let them know, where can the people find us if they're looking for us?
Yo, you can find the Split the Vote podcast on Instagram at Split the Vote podcast and TikTok. And you can find us on the Purple Pants podcast on YouTube now, which is pretty incredible.
Absolutely, extremely incredible. You can find us there. Once there, it'll take you to where you'll see us next. But until then, make sure y'all are continuing to split that vote, continuing to just be yourself. Have a great day, and we'll see you next episode. Peace. It's been Rob. It's been Tim. It's been Split the Vote. Peace.